On this day in history, January 31st. Following the death of King Louis II of Hungary at the Battle of Mohacs in 1526, a succession crisis ensued. Ferdinand I of the Habsburg dynasty and John Zapolya, voivode of Transylvania, both claimed the Hungarian throne. This dispute led to a protracted conflict over the control of Hungary. On January 31, 1578-1531, a significant development occurred when both parties officially recognized each other's claims, aiming to establish a temporary peace and delineate their respective territories within Hungary. This mutual recognition was a pivotal moment in the complex political landscape of Central Europe during that era. On January 31, 1578, during the 80 Years' War, Spanish forces under the command of Don John of Austria and his nephew, Alexander Farnese, Prince of Parma, engaged a coalition of Dutch, Flemish, English, Scottish, German, French, and Walloon soldiers near Gembloux, in present-day Belgium. The Spanish cavalry, led by Farnese, launched a decisive attack that caused panic among the rebel troops, resulting in a crushing victory for the Spanish. This battle significantly weakened the unity of the rebel provinces and marked the end of the Union of Brussels. On January 31, 1747, the London Lock Hospital opened its doors as the first clinic dedicated to treating venereal diseases. Located in London, this institution provided specialized care for patients suffering from sexually transmitted infections, marking a significant advancement in public health and the medical treatment of such diseases. In 1855, the government led by Lord Aberdeen in the United Kingdom collapsed under intense scrutiny due to its handling of the Crimean War. The administration faced severe criticism over military mismanagement and the high number of casualties, leading to a loss of confidence and the eventual resignation of Lord Aberdeen as Prime Minister. On January 31, 1862, astronomer Alvan Graham Clark made the first observation of Sirius B, the first known white dwarf star, in Cambridgeport, Massachusetts. While testing a new telescope, Clark identified this faint companion to Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, contributing significantly to the field of astronomy. In 1863, the 1st Black Regiment of the Civil War, known as the South Carolina Volunteers, was mustered into the U.S. Army. This event marked a pivotal moment in American history, as African American soldiers officially joined the fight for the Union, challenging prevailing attitudes about race and military service. On January 31, 1865, the U.S. Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution by a vote of 121 to 24, abolishing slavery in the United States, except as punishment for a crime. This landmark legislation marked a significant turning point in American history, leading to the end of legal slavery in the nation. Also in 1865, General Robert E. Lee was appointed as the Commander-in-Chief of the Confederate Armies during the U.S. Civil War. Lee's leadership would play a crucial role in the remaining campaigns of the Confederacy. In 1874, the infamous outlaw Jesse James and his gang committed a train robbery at Gads Hill, Missouri. This event added to the legend of Jesse James as a notorious figure in American outlaw history. On January 31, 1905, British daredevil Arthur McDonald became the first person to exceed 100 miles per hour, 161 kilometers per hour, in an automobile, driving a Napier six-cylinder racing car named Samson. On the sands of Daytona Beach, Florida, McDonald achieved a top speed of 104 miles per hour, setting a new land speed record. In 1917, Germany notified the United States that its U-boats would attack neutral merchant ships, escalating tensions that would eventually lead to the U.S. entering World War I. On this day in 1920, the first daily Ukrainian-language newspaper in the United States, Ukrainska Shodeny Visty, Ukrainian Daily News, began publishing in New York City. The publication was initially sponsored by the Ukrainian section of the Communist Party, serving the Ukrainian immigrant community. In 1934, President Franklin D. Roosevelt devalued the U.S. dollar in relation to gold, setting the price at $35 per ounce. This move was part of the administration's efforts to combat the Great Depression by inflating the economy. At the 1948 St. Moritz Winter Olympics, an unprecedented three-way tie occurred for the silver medal in the 500-meter speed skating event. Americans Robert Fitzgerald and Ken Bartholomew, along with Norway's Thomas Byberg, all finished with a time of 43.2 seconds, while Finn Helgesen of Norway won the gold with a time of 43.1 seconds. On January 31, 1949, the first U.S. daytime soap opera, These Are My Children, premiered on NBC in Chicago. This program marked the beginning of a genre that would become a staple of American daytime television. In 1950, U.S. President Harry Truman publicly announced his support for the development of a hydrogen bomb, signaling a significant escalation in the nuclear arms race during the Cold War. On this day in 1955, RCA demonstrated the first music synthesizer, showcasing a new technology that would eventually revolutionize music production and electronic sound. In 1961, Ham the chimpanzee became the first primate in space, traveling 158 miles aboard Mercury Redstone 2. Ham's successful mission was a significant milestone in the U.S. space program, paving the way for human spaceflight. On January 31, 1962, Samuel Gravely assumed command of the destroyer escort USS Falgout, becoming the first African American to command a combat ship in the U.S. Navy. This achievement marked a significant step forward in the integration of the armed forces. In 1971, Apollo 14 was launched, marking the first mission to land in the lunar highlands. Astronauts Alan Shepard, Stuart Roosa, and Edgar Mitchell conducted various scientific experiments during their mission. In 1990, the first McDonald's in the Soviet Union opened in Moscow, symbolizing a significant moment in the country's cultural and economic opening to the West during the final years of the Cold War. On January 31, 1997, Final Fantasy VII was released by Square and Sony Computer Entertainment for the PlayStation. The game became a landmark title in the role-playing genre and is often credited with popularizing Japanese RPGs in the Western market. In 2015, 17-year-old Lydia Ko of New Zealand became the youngest golfer in history, male or female, to be ranked number 1 in the world. Her achievement highlighted her exceptional talent and marked a significant milestone in the sport. On January 31, 2019, Catholic leaders in Texas publicly released the names of 286 priests and other individuals accused of sexually abusing children. This revelation, dating back to 1940, was part of an effort to address the widespread clerical abuse scandal that had shaken the Catholic Church globally. It underscored the Church's attempt at transparency, though it was met with mixed responses from survivors and advocates. In 2022, the popular online word puzzle, Wordle, was acquired by the New York Times for a low 7-figure sum. The acquisition highlighted the game's meteoric rise in popularity and its cultural impact as a daily ritual for players worldwide. The purchase also reflected the Times' strategy to expand its digital puzzle offerings. On January 31, 2024, Caitlin Clark, a standout basketball player for the Iowa Hawkeyes, scored 35 points and recorded 10 assists in a game against Northwestern. This performance broke the Big Ten all-time scoring record, further cementing her legacy as one of the greatest collegiate basketball players in history. Her achievement showcased her exceptional skill and influence on women's basketball.